Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and our guests today are Kent Plunkett, the CEO, and Peter Crosby, the Chief Marketing Officer of DreamFund.com. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Devin. Nice to be here.
We are excited to have you here, and thank you very much for making the time. DreamFund is doing something different, something interesting in the crowdfunding space. That's why I wanted to have you on the show. You know better than I, there are hundreds of operating crowdfunding sites, and everyone and their pet pony is thinking about launching a crowdfunding site. You've done something pretty different. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing that's different.
Yeah, I think when we started out, the problem we were trying to solve is that it's hard for people to save for their dreams, for the things that they want to do. And we find that when we looked at crowdfunding, crowd seemed like the wrong term to us, because really where most people get their support from are the people that are nearest and dearest to them. And then if you're lucky, it expands to that next circle of giving where the friends of your friends start to give. And then if you have a cause that can really inspire a lot of people, then that circle continues to grow, right? And so that made us think about it more as something like what we've called circle giving, maybe even rather than crowdfunding, a way of thinking about how giving has changed and people are really focusing their giving on things that make an impact on people's lives. And so we put together a platform that allows people not only to raise money, but also to save money. The money that they raise and save and put in themselves on the DreamFund platform goes into an FDIC-insured savings account, and they earn interest on it every day. And that dream could be for the next 3 months for a girl to get to her dance championships, or 20 years to do a college fund. So we're really building a giving, saving, and investment platform on DreamFund, just beyond just the thought of a crowdfunding a cooler or a movie or something like that.
It will, and it is so important for people to be planning ahead. I think about college funding is such a great example of a use for your platform, so that you get your friends and family to contribute periodically to your child's education. How would that work mechanically, though? Walk us through how it would work on your site.
Sure. So any kid or even parents that want to come in and set up a college fund, or anybody that's setting up a fund for anything, they create a dream page just like you would on any other crowdfunding site. Or even if you're doing that to benefit a charity, you can do the same thing. And once that page is set up, then it's sharing out that story to your circles. And that circle may be through Facebook or Twitter or email or Instagram. And you can use the tools on our site to do that. I think when you think about a dream that's going to last for 20 years, it's less about sort of the sell and close thing as it is keeping the people who have committed to that dream, your friends and family and relatives, connected to it so that they are part of that journey. Because the best part of crowdfunding and circle giving is really the storytelling. So whether it's for a charity that you want to raise the money for a property for a camp for kids of fallen heroes like Operation 300, or it's a college fund, it's all about the storytelling and keeping people engaged. And then it's very easy to either deposit on a credit card, or very shortly we'll have ACH deposits so that you can just hook up your bank account, and every 3 months you can have a recurring payment go in, and that's low cost. It's like 40 cents a transaction instead of the usual credit card fees.
Kent, how did you come up with the idea for this originally?
Well, Peter and I were actually collaborating, and we decided that we were getting to a certain age, and we wanted to start something together. But we had a couple of really key criteria, and it had to be something that actually was good for lots of people, and actually helped lots of people out in the world do something better for themselves than they might have done without. And that really narrows the list of industries you're interested in. It also had to be something that we thought could be large and had a big enough opportunity to kind of attract a lot of resources over time, so that we could actually have money to spend to put our talents to work. And you know, in working through that, we had come across a concept for crowdfunded savings or restricted savings accounts, and we turned it around and we said, well, what we do this and what would it be? And we both looked and said, well, the perfect brand would be DreamFund. Let's see if the domain name's available for sale. And a minute and a half later, we were like, we can't believe this is available. We checked the trademarks. We were like, we can't believe the trademark is going to clear. So, so there we were. And that's how we sat. We shook hands. We said, wow, we can build something that has a chance to be really big, because fintech companies tend to get very big. You have lots of customers if they're successful. And it's something where every one of our customers, we can help change their life. And so we just said, this is checking all the boxes. Let's get our software guys together and go build something really cool.
I think it's really an exciting premise, and it's really fun to learn more about it. Can you give us some specific examples of people who are using the site today, Peter? Maybe give us some idea of the kinds of projects by specific example.
Sure. I'll pick a couple. One we just had launch yesterday, and it was through an appearance on the Steve Harvey Show. It was that camp that I talked about. There's a camp in Florida called Operation 300, started by a woman who lost her brother in combat. And one of the things that her sister-in-law said to her is, who's going to teach my kids what their dad would have taught them? So she started this camp called Operation 300, which is where kids from all over the country, all expenses paid, come in and go to adventure camp with mentors and get to meet other kids who have been through the same experience. And they just lost their home, their camp home that they've been working on for a number of years, and so they're looking to find a new property. And so we're helping them with a $430,000 dream to get their new camp property. And so it was on the Steve Harvey Show yesterday. We started the dream off with $10,000 from DreamFund because we're so inspired by what they're doing. And another example, and then you go down to the small, which is a sister who wanted her little sister to be able to go to a soccer training camp in London that she got into. It was an international competition. And she was raising the couple of $1,000s so that her sister could go to a soccer training camp. All the way over to the Wagner family in Wellesley, Massachusetts, that lost their home just before Christmas in a fire. And the gym that Kevin works at, he's a physical trainer, got together and pushed out to all of their channels that this family was in need of help, and they've raised almost $26,000 on our site. So it's the range of it is astonishing, from charities to families, and most often we find that the ones that are successful are people raising for money not for themselves but for other people or other organizations. It's that generosity that really keys in and that inspires other people to give.
Yeah. Kent, tell us a little bit about what you did before you came to DreamFund, so we understand what the foundation is that you built this on.
Sure. Like I was once described in front of my kids as a serial entrepreneur, and they said, "Daddy, what flavor?" But I've been doing startups basically since 1991, so a long time, and mostly around software and content, and at the intersection of software and content, much like DreamFund is. Probably notably, I was a co-founder of InfoSpace, which helped put phone directories on the internet back in 1996. That was a long ago deal. And then I spent 12 years running Salary.com, which was kind of the first big internet site that democratized access to pay information about what people should make.
Used that many times.
There we go, and hopefully,
Are you well paid, Devin?
Hopefully to good end.
So great career. What about you, Peter? How did you get to be part of this deal?
Oh gosh, I ate a lot of cereal. No, my focus, I've sort of had an interesting career. I've bounced around a bit. In business, I've been also in on the number of startups. This is my fourth startup, creating businesses and often business concepts from scratch. A company that I founded called Ounce Labs was one of the first ones to really delve into software security, trying to figure out whether software code was secure or not, and that got sold to IBM a number of years ago. And then on the other side of my life, I was also a professional actor. So I have my master's in acting, did work in New York and around the country, a little bit of TV. But then I really wanted to settle back in Boston and and grow my life there. And so I returned to software by working at Constant Contact, which is one of the biggest email and social media event software providers for small businesses. And I ran their product and content marketing team. And really learned the value of storytelling and education to inspire people. In one case, to help small businesses to grow and get them customers. In our case, storytelling is a way to inspire people to support a dream. And so it's been nice to be able to put that into play at DreamFund.
Well, it is sure a lot of fun to learn about what you're doing. Gentlemen, let me just ask you a couple of thought questions before we wrap up. First, Kent, let me ask you who you look up to as a role model and why.
So I have to go all the way back to the 70s, and Ted Turner, when I was a kid, was really important to me as a kind of one of the first really public entrepreneurs and people doing what today they call disruption and innovating industries. And I also happen to be a competitive sailboat racer, so the fact that he won the America's Cup and was both a businessman, an entrepreneur, and a sailor connected with me on a lot of levels. And I think I was very inspired from being at a young age that, you know, wow, you really could be anything you want to be. If you have a vision, your vision may not even be a popular vision when you first have it. But if you have a vision and you work hard and you execute all things, which I think he did, then you've got an opportunity, and that's a great thing. So he was very inspiring to me.
Oh, that's great. Peter, what about you?
You know, I heard the question. I just immediately thought of my dad, and then I thought, oh, you can't say your dad. You have to say something else. But what I remember, unfortunately, I lost both my parents last year, and so I think about them a lot. And one of the things that I remember from when I was in college, my mom came back from the post office. We grew up on the Cape, and she came back from the post office, and she said, I met a woman at the post office who said, came up to me and said, Barbara, I just wanted to tell you, your husband is a true gentleman. He's a gentleman. And I thought, what a wonderful thing to be known for kindness and for treating people well and with respect. And so I try to keep that with me when I just have my dealings out in the world. And we've tried to build that kindness and charity and generosity and gratitude that's sort of core into our platform. And so I kind of take that from my dad. My mom was the tough one, great, but loved her. But it was really that's how my dad inspired me to sort of behave in the world. So I value that.
Terrific. Kent, let's ask you another little follow-up question. I want you to think about why you are choosing to do this particular project, because really what you're doing here changes lives in a different way than some of the things that you've done in the past. Why DreamFund?
You know, I think it's shown on the site. So when we look at the dreams that get published, whether it's I mean, we had a young man who said, I want to do something the size of a mailbox, and I want to have a lending library. It's only going to hold about 10 books, and he was raising like $200 to create a lending library. I mean, how cool is that? How that just plucks your heartstrings. And then there's people that are really, you know, deeply in need and in crisis, being able to help out there, because it's awkward to have the conversation about asking for money, and it's hard to tell your story sometimes, or probably more succinctly, the story of someone you care about in a way that isn't intrusive when you're doing it through other media. And it's really a place where the internet gets to help change the world and make that conversation less awkward, less easy. It's not no one's forcing you to donate to one of the causes or one of the goals that someone's pursuing, one of their dreams. It's you who's deciding, and without pressure, you're exposed to it. You may just choose to say, hey, I can't give, but I'm going to share it out to more people. And so we've had dreams that have been shared out, you know, hundreds of times further, and really the dreams themselves go viral. And it's really cool to see communities form and come together, work towards a goal, and then have that goal to be achieved. And it's just so satisfying. And Peter comes in all the time and he goes like, I love my job. I love going to work here. And I have to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Peter, why team up with Kent on this project?
Wow. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met, but don't tell him I said that. And you know what? Kent has courage, and doing entrepreneurship really requires courage. It requires the leap from that place where you're thinking something might be possible to leap over that chasm where you just don't know what's going to happen on your trip across, and you just trust you'll land. And if I'm going to take that leap with somebody, it's going to be somebody with the kind of sort of foresight and bravery that he has. And also, he buys lunches for the office every day, so I get to eat for free.
Can't beat that.
The truth comes out.
Exactly.
Can't beat that. Well, Kent, let me just ask you one final question, and that is, you've had a long and successful career. Give us one tip that we can apply to have greater impact in the world.
Having impact in the world starts with baby steps, and you have to take steps with the resources that you control. And so figure out what you want to do, get your vision, and then figure out what you can rally just within your own little world to take steps towards that and what you can do. And then you can let your vision expand and try to take steps that are beyond the resources that you control, because you've created some momentum and you've created some direction, you've gained some knowledge about where you're trying to head. And in my view, to the extent that people can activate their own instincts to walk down that path and just start walking towards something, and then maybe a big grander vision comes into play over time, that done millions of times over across the world changes the world every year. And that's where change comes from. I'm not a big believer that that there's one big lever out there and you pull that lever and you get change. I think change comes from millions of people either coincidentally or on purpose acting together in small ways. That's where the real forces of change comes. And that actually ties back to what we're doing in DreamFund. It's part of what will make DreamFund. If people can activate their own circles to pursue their own goals. And then sometimes they're going to participate in some grander schemes. But for the most part, it's about incremental activity by lots and lots of people that moves the world forward. And I'm just pleased to be able to play a small part in that.
Oh, great insight, Peter or Kent. Peter, what about you? What tip would you give us?
Wow. I really think, and it's actually going off of what Kent said, I think part of what he said is that what's important is patience. You have to really, if you're going to commit to something, if you're going to try for change in the world, it doesn't happen overnight. Things don't explode. Even Kent and I, you hear a lot about these viral businesses that just explode, but often there were 4 years before that event happened where people were working hard at the wheel, and then, it's sort of the overnight success that never is. So I feel like having patience, and you have to keep your belief in what you're doing, even when everyone tells you it's not possible.
Now, I hear that. Great insights, gentlemen. Well, listen, Peter, why don't you take just 1 minute, tell us how people can learn more, how they can engage, how they can check out DreamFund.com.
Sure. So, of course, our website is www.dreamfund.com, and we're on Twitter at the DreamFund, and on Facebook at the DreamFund. So wherever we have Instagram channels and all that. But those are 3 of the ways in which you can reach out, and we'd be happy to engage with you.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to be on the show today. We appreciate it.
Great, Devin. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Devin, and thank you to the audience.
Thank you. Now, let's do some good.